In this second episode, we will discuss on the importance of values. What are values and why are they important, and where do we stand as a society when it comes to our values? Ali Farai, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Reem.
How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm doing well.
It's already fourth day of Ramadan.
Yeah. Second episode, fourth day.
Subhanallah. Yes, subhanallah. And that's always the feeling that we welcome Ramadan and then soon we feel like the time is passing and reminds us to make the best of it, inshallah.
Exactly.
Inshallah.
And actually, just talking to Ahmed Al-Araimi about the weather and how much it changed in Ramadan, subhanallah.
Alhamdulillah. So, Ali, today's show, we will talk about the importance of values. And in a way, it also sets the scene for the coming episode where we will take a specific value in each episode. So, let's start talking about the why. Why do you think values are important and why we should focus on it?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Values guide our behaviors. They are part of our identity as individuals. They show us how to behave and how not to behave when we are faced with desires or impulses, whether we are alone or with others. For example, imagine this, a person driving his car and he notices an old lady trying to cross the road, so he stops. Why? So she could cross the road. While another person might just ignore her and drive by. Now, here's the thing. Both have values. You're surprised, huh? The first driver shows a great value to the old lady by allowing her to cross the road. That's fine, that's simple. Where the second driver gives a great value to himself and his own need.
Not aware of others.
Not aware of others. Of course, in reality, you won't really call that as a value. It's mainly a type of a behavior. It could be a good behavior or a bad behavior. That depends on that person himself and how he sees it. So when a person acts based on his values, he will not care about what people would say, how they would think about him, or whether they're watching him or not, because he strongly believes in those values. Hence, he would not expect anything in return. And that creates sincerity, which itself is a value. It makes you feel confident that you're trying to do the good thing. You know, you find many people, they try maybe, okay, I have this value, but I'm trying to share it because I want people to see it.
Not sincere.
Not sincere. So if you're not sincere, sincerity itself is a value. If you're not sincere, then you're not really having that value.
And I guess in that case, it means if someone is not watching you, they might then not live that value.
They might not live that value.
And if someone was watching that person driving, might have said, oh, let me stop the car.
Yeah, but it could be an encouragement. Like, for example, let's talk about charity. The giving, the value of giving.
Yes.
So there are two types of people. One would be a person who would give money without people noticing that. And it could be that same person would give money in public. But now here are two scenarios. One might give based on a good intention, because I want people to know and to get inspired by that and try to donate. When you look at that, and that happens on television a lot, where they say, okay, I want you guys to donate. The other person might do it the other way around. I want to show people that I'm giving money.
Yes.
And they try to spread the news. So where do we see the value? In the first one or the second one? That's something that we need to reflect on. Yeah. So answering your question, what are the values? What are values? They're a set of behaviors and actions. Your values are the things that you believe are important in the way you live. They determine your priorities. A value can also be a measure whether your life is going the way you want or the opposite. So you're really measuring. We have to set goals in life and all that, but values are part of those goals.
So kind of like an internal reference. Where do I stand?
Exactly. And if you don't have that, you'll be lost. I don't know, do I go left or right? So values are like directions towards that. So when your behaviors and actions match your values, then you are doing well. But if they don't match your values, then there is something wrong and that you need to rectify that.
The gap.
Yeah.
And I think that's what... there's a term that I came across, value activation.
Wow.
And because oftentimes when we might talk about importance of values, or from childhood we get brought up on, it's important to focus on these values, but then are they activated? And then we always come to that issue. Are we activating those values in our lives and that we believe in? So it's like, to activate or not to activate, that shouldn't be the question. We should automatically activate and learn how to live those values.
But it's good that you, whether you activate or not, but you know the values.
The first
This
step.
this is something good. But there are people who don't know what what their values are. And well, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say it's wrong, but maybe yet to discover those values.
Or highlighting the importance of those.
Yeah.
Excellent. So in terms of values as well, what we've noticed is it's more of the qualities, the attributes that also guide us in terms of even on how we make decisions in life and what we give the importance to. And I'd like to also to remind all of us of the Prophet's saying, peace be upon him, in which he said, the best among you are those who have the best manners and characters. And I think just to reflect on that saying reminds us the importance for us to do the inner work and to really reflect in and say, are we of best manners and characters? Do we embody the values that makes it us have best manners and characters in life? Yes.
Yeah, the lots of teachings from the Prophet ﷺ, and we could talk about. Yeah, but let's leave the religion side maybe at the end for the time being. And why don't we talk about values in business?
Indeed, that's fascinating, actually. Good point you brought it, because there has been more focus in terms of values in organizations, in management and leadership. What did you come across in terms of that?
Well, for me, values are all used in business, but why does it matter? Why does it matter to have values in business? Because it helps gain clarity and focus, and in making consistent decisions so that it will improve the results. So values allow members of an organization to interact in harmony. They are considered as a foundation of employee attitude, motivation, and expectations. So, for example, we hear, when you go to a website and you hear this company has mission, visions, and values. What are all these stuff? And the thing is, just a week ago, I had a training program workshop. I have delivered a workshop, and I talked about values in the company and whether the employees follow those values or not. But before that, do they know what the values are?
The awareness.
Or is it only in the books? And there's something I was even thinking about when a person applies for a job. I think it's a good idea that he actually knows what the company values are and whether he agrees with those values or not. So if you don't agree with that value, you need to think about or reconsider a different job. And not just that, but when you're getting interviewed, the interviewer, I think one of the things he should ask, which is not happening, I think, unless in few companies, that he asks the person that he's going to interview, do you know what the values of the company are? And if he doesn't, then he explains to him and asks, do you want to live that value with us? Are you ready? Are you willing to? So that's because at the end, it's, we're trying to achieve a common goal, and that's part of team building.
Yes.
We all try to achieve one goal, which is a common goal, which is, it doesn't happen unless you follow those values.
Yeah, so interesting. It's like we can look at values in terms of, first of all, the self perspective, starting with ourselves, and in terms of the moral and ethical standards. And then we look at how, as a society, do we stand with those values, and as well the integration of values in terms of leadership, organization, management, to create that coherent environment as well in this institute. We'll go right now for a prayer break, and we'll be back.
Radio 90.4 FM.
Our listeners, now it's time for a call to prayers, Adhan al-Dhuhr, according to the local timing of Muscat and its suburbs. Those who reside outside Muscat Governorate have to notice the difference in timing. Radio Sultanate of Oman.
You're listening to Radio Sultanate of Oman on your favorite radio station, 90.4 FM.
Radio Sultanate of Oman 90.4 FM is all set to bring you Let's Connect. Let's Connect. A soul-searching program which is about a journey of self-discovery hosted by Reem.
12 noon to 1 p.m. Sunday to Thursday.
Send your questions to 90406 or call us at 246-02058.
Let's connect here on the Nation Station.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Let's Connect, your Ramadan radio program. We welcome you to call us in at 246-02058, and you can connect with us at our Facebook page, the number 3, number 2, number 1, connect, 321 connect. Today's episode focuses on the importance of values. What are values and why are they important? And it's interesting, Ali, before we went on the break, you mentioned how organizations as well are setting values themselves and ensuring that the team culture with a society in itself is living those values. And that reminded me of actually brand values. You know, in a commercial perspective, you have, the marketing team, the branding team, they might spend lots of time actually defining the value of that brand, what that brand stands for, and then accordingly how to communicate that value. Now, question is, do we do that as individuals?
That's a difficult question, but let me just talk about my own business. When I started this new business, and I have two other partners, and we actually struggled in writing down what values we all share. Because different people have different perceptions. So, and we can connect that to our own personal values too. So if we're dealing with more than one person, we need to agree with each other's values. And if that doesn't happen, then there's an issue. Yeah? And then, do we really share those values? And does that value help us build that business or not? So now think about it personally.
In your life, yes.
Your life, and where does that start from? That's the question that needs to be asked. It starts from home. What values are your parents having at home? What kind of a television program are they watching at home? What type of a conversation they have? What kind of books they read at home? And that reflects that value. It might change after that, but that's where it should start. So if the value is not present there, because value at the end is about morality. So what's the level of morality in that?
And so it's an opportunity in this blessed month as well, is for each of us to take that as an exercise and reflect where we stand in our values. We have a call. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum. With us is Ilham.
Yes, it is.
Ilham Al-Maskari, welcome to Let's Connect.
شكرا. Thank you.
Ramadan Mubarak.
رمضان كريم علينا وعليكم.
Ameen. Thank you, Ilham. It's great to have you with us in the show and to hear your contribution. So Ali and I have been discussing, in general, what are values and the importance of values in different facets in our life. So what would you say from your personal experience do you see the value of importance to be? And in particular in society, what values do you think we need to focus on and so that we can become even better?
Well, values, I think the values we carry play a big role in the actions, choices, and decisions we make in life.
Mm-hmm.
It is therefore very important to know and to understand what your values are, to really have an honest conversation with yourself, and to reflect on your values every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Your values are pretty much your identity. And I would say the subject of values is vast. It's a vast topic. So
Yes.
I think I choose to focus on a particular value which I hold close to heart, and that is the value of time and integrity.
Oh, yes. That's a big thing here.
As far as society is concerned, I believe we have a long way to come in terms of appreciating, understanding what is the value of time, and to respect people's time. And having said that, it is, like I say, it's a value I carry close to heart, namely because it affects those people around you. And it is also time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He swears by the time. So it means that time is a great thing, and it's a very important thing, and it's not a trivial issue to not respect people's time. And I believe the society have a lot to reflect upon that concept. And
So when you say time, are you focusing on terms of how we spend our time or respecting of other people's, say,
it is
like
respecting
appointments?
time. If you value time in general, whether
Okay.
it's your own time or others, by default you would end up respecting other people's time. But I feel if you don't value the concept of time, and maybe you have too much time in your hands, it is difficult to respect other people's time, as you may believe everyone is in the same boat. But I feel that once you respect the value of time, the time you have in your own hands, then you would,
Yes.
by default, end up respecting other people's time around you. And I would say, as a mother, how I choose to pass those values on to my kids will namely via just by being an example. And as they grow older, continue to teach them those values by example, by how they see me respecting other people's time, by commenting on certain situations, and by explaining to them the implications of any values they carry in life. What are the implications of these values on themselves as individuals, and how it affects the individuals around them, such so they can lead a happier, more peaceful lifestyle.
So ensuring first you're a role model to your children, so that you lead by example, and then having those conversations with them.
Yes, helping
Yeah.
them understand, because just using the word values, I feel the word value is used a lot, but maybe not so many people really reflect on its meaning, its a deeper sense, or apply it in their own lives in the sense that it should be.
So how do you personally go about it in terms of reflecting on your own values? How do you share with us your personal experience?
Well, in occasions, if I feel, for example, because we carry certain values, and I believe sometimes as human beings, you may end up making a decision and action which may slightly contradict your values, and you kind of learn from the implications of that, and it's like a reminder, and you continue to remind yourself to go back to your values and to guide you into making the right decisions or the right actions. Feedback, especially from the people around you who also carry the same values, can help you become a better person in demonstrating those values to others.
Very good. I like the point you mentioned as well in terms of seeking also input from others, those close to you, those that you can trust, who sometimes we might be blind to something and others can notice it in us.
Indeed, because as well, a lot of the values we carry have also been passed down to us from our own parents, the people who brought us up. And sometimes you may have missed the point or misunderstood something or not really grasped the concept. So it needs constant revision. And it's about constantly wanting to develop yourself at the personal and the professional level as well. Like I say, because we're human beings in the end, so you may not always 100% stick to the values you carry. And at times somebody gets weak or emotional, for example, and you forget about a particular value. And so it's good to always have the company and the feedback of people who carry the same values.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ilham. Anything else you'd like to share?
Wallahi, thank you for inviting me to share my comments.
Pleasure.
And the only thing I would like to share to people is to please reflect on the value of time and how your actions and decisions, especially in the service sector, whether you're an employee, a volunteer, a person in charge. In the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be questioning us on all these topics. It is not a trivial matter. It is a very, very serious issue which needs serious reflection and pondering and an application as well. And inshallah ta'ala, it will help lead a much happier life and less problematic life.
That's true. It actually makes life more enjoyable for all.
Indeed. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much,
Shukran,
Ilham. Shukran. Thank you very much, Ilham. It was a pleasure. So there you go, everyone. A message from Ilham is really focused in terms of time. And she mentioned a critical point because we often joke about time. And we often make a joke about how in our Arab societies, you give up an appointment and you say, should I come in terms of Arab timing or...
I hate that expression when we say that.
Yes.
I mean, there's no such a thing as Arab time or whatever time.
Exactly.
It's a personal thing,
Yes.
You as a person. How sincere are you in what you're doing?
Yes.
I mean, I can talk about one of the experience that I had, but without mentioning what that experience was. It was some paperwork that I wanted to do something, and for that I needed some paperwork, some approvals, and it took me something that would take you maybe a week or less than a week. It took me exactly a year and a week. To get it done.
Now, why is that?
Oh, well, I don't think it's strange because every time you go to somebody and that person would say, okay, can you go to the other person? And that happens all the time. And when you go to the other person, he tells you to go back to the first person. And so it's like a cycle. And when it's done, you say, okay, we'll look at that paperwork that you have and I want you to come next week. So a week passes by and you go to them again. The same thing. The paper has not moved. You need to go just in order to teach them how to do their work. Tell them, okay, you see that paper over there? Can you just move it to the next step? That's the thing.
There's kind of a sense of neglect in a way.
The thing is, I think they love that type of paper a lot, that they want to keep it with them for a while, and they don't feel like, leaving that paper away and say, oh,
if we look at let's take that example, which is common, and we do face it. And now, of course, we know that everyone naturally is good-hearted, and everyone naturally wants to do good. So when we see these situations, especially as Ilham also mentioned in the service sector, and we question why, and I think we had a discussion where they might be aware of these values, but in terms of reflecting on where do I stand with them, I think that's where we lack. And Ilham did mention it needs constant review to see, did my actions reflect those values?
And one of the things that I would suggest our listeners and myself at the beginning is to have a small book that we call a to-do list, which I actually started using it maybe in 2007 or something. And it actually keeps you disciplined of what you're going to accomplish on that particular day.
Okay.
And when do you write down? You write down right before you sleep. At the end, you've finished, you already accomplished one day. You ticked off whatever you've done, you accomplished. Whatever you haven't done, you move it to the next day and add to it, okay, what I'm going to do again, what I'm going to do next, what I need to accomplish. And if you want to even mention the exact time that you want to finish it, that's even better. And that helps you. And the good thing about it, and I would suggest that instead of using mobile phones and all those gadgets, use a normal notebooks,
Small
paper
notebook.
with a pen or pencil, because the moment you tick off using that pencil or pen, there's a relief. Wow, I accomplished this. And
It's like a small celebration, like
Yeah.
you're making progress.
yeah, I love the word celebration. In fact, sometimes you can even, let's say a week from now, I'll put in my to-do list that if I accomplish this, I'm going to celebrate and I'm going to invite myself. Only myself. I'm going to celebrate the success that I just achieved. So when we talk about what Ilham said, I think it focuses on the three main values that we need to have, which is discipline, sincerity, and respect. When you're disciplined, that's when you really respect the time and you're sincere to your work. And not just that, but you're showing to people that you respect them. And it's the other way around. When you don't, when someone comes to you and say, okay, what's happening to my work? Oh, we haven't done it. So you're actually making that person feel, oh, you're not respecting him. This person is not respecting
And the effort
him.
you made
Yeah.
to come and...
So
yes,
what's the purpose of that person being there first place? Yeah. Because that should be first thing. That should be the first value when you're dealing with customers.
Especially in that, the front line,
Yeah.
exactly. We remind our listeners, you can call us in at the number 24602058. That's 24602058. We welcome as well that you share with us your inputs, your thoughts, and experiences. And you mentioned Ali, because I think we can come out of this and saying that what we need to do is ensure we keep revising ourselves in terms of where we stand with our values. And you mentioned having a to-do list. That could be a great opportunity that at the end of the day to check in, how did we behave throughout the day? And something as well that it's valuable is that 5 prayers during the day themselves can be a checkpoint where after your prayer, you just see, okay, how have I done? How have I been? You do the midday prayer, for example. How have I been so far? Asr prayer afternoon, how have I been? Maghrib time, Isha. And so it kind of has these checkpoints that you can use constantly, because we acknowledge that as humans, sometimes we neglect things, sometimes we distract us, we overlook things, and it's really important that we have that consciousness in us.
So you're mainly evaluating yourself.
Very
Evaluate
critical.
yourself before you get evaluated. Yeah.
Yes,
حاسبوا أنفسكم
there you
قبل
go.
أن
You have a
تحاسبوا.
slogan, everyone.
Okay, you can write that down.
Excellent. So this is a month of fasting and spirituality, and of course we know that blessings of Ramadan, we use this time to become more God conscious and as well to self-purify ourselves, to look within ourselves. So let's step into now the perspective of values in Islam.
Excellent. Values in Islam is no different from what we mentioned before. Because Allah says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقولوا للناس حسنا, and speak kindly to mankind. God mentioned the word mankind, regardless of what religion, what color, what race you have. It's mankind. How you deal with them. You speak to them gently and kindly. And He also said, ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. Repel evil with that which is good, and you will see that he between whom you and you there was enmity shall become like a close, affectionate friend. Allah ordered the faithful believers to be patient at the time of anger and to excuse those who treat them badly. So that's the thing about it.
Beautiful values.
Yeah. And best example is, of course, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who lived by his values, is none other than Prophet himself. And Allah has concluded that in a very short verse when He said, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. And indeed, you are of a great morality. Prophet Muhammad was a balanced human being. He worshipped Allah, he fed the poor, visited the sick, sewed his clothes, cleaned his house, bought food for the house, led a team, managed his business, and taught people about values. He never got angry when someone tried to anger him personally, but he got angry when someone tried to talk anything against Allah. That was the time that he gets upset and angry. And he actually said to himself, about himself, that indeed, I was sent to complete good morals.
Yes.
If you allow me, I will share with you a few statements
By all means, yes.
from the teaching of Prophet Muhammad that shows the importance of values in Islam. One of them is that God is pure and does not accept anything unless it is pure. And when you say the word pure, it's purity in how you look, physical purity, your mind,
Intentions,
your soul, your emotions. Is that pure? That's the only time when God will accept it. If it's not pure, then you need to think about that. I don't know if you want to say anything, add anything on that.
That's beautiful, yes.
Yeah. Another one would be actions are judged by the intention behind them. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. So if you have a good intention towards doing something, that's when your action will be judged. And for example, maybe a person would say, hey, by the end of, let's say, the last 10 days of Ramadan, I will decide to, inshallah, if I was alive, I'll decide to buy some clothes, new clothes, and give it to the poor people, as Eid gift. And that person doesn't make it to the last 10 days. Maybe he kicks the bucket, he dies. So what happens? He gets rewarded for the intention that he had. That's the thing. That's the beauty of it.
And it reminds us, like the points you're mentioning, it reminds us we go back to being conscious. I mean, this is how we can elevate ourselves and become better, is we are in a state of conscious of Allah, and conscious of how we are behaving and leading our lives.
Exactly.
Yes.
And maybe I should go back now to episode 1.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example of what Sheikh Khalfan said on my last visit to him. He said, Inshallah, when I get better, I will have a TV show that will talk about the beauty of prayer. And
MashaAllah.
I'll have another show or another episode where I'm going to talk about my journey in life and with this disease that I had. But subhanallah.
SubhanAllah, I'm sure it's rewarded for
Inshallah,
that intention.
Inshallah, he
and-
had that good intention.
Yes. Actually, it's amazing you mentioned that point because, during the last days, he was mentioning all the projects and initiatives that he wanted to do. And it just reminds us that sometimes we feel like if we want to go through, a journey of self-improvement, getting closer to Allah, sometimes we might feel overwhelmed that, there's a lot to be done. But as long as the intention is there and we do what we take, we start with the initial steps. I know if we talk about character building and our values, we can just start by initially maybe a certain value that we want to focus on improving in our lives. And we shouldn't feel overwhelmed, but because we know Allah will reward us for having that intention to take the steps.
Yeah, take one step at a time. That reminds me of a training program that I'm actually taking, getting certified as a leadership trainer. I'm not advertising myself, by the way.
You could have skipped that, just kidding.
Yeah, and the thing is, the moment I paid for the program and enrolled for it, I got around 20 subjects, 20 books, let's say, to read. And I was overwhelmed at the beginning. I didn't know what to do and how to start, where to start from. Until a mentor actually called me and said, hey, calm down, take each step at a time, one step at a time. Read one book. When you're done with that, go to the next one. Choose whatever book you want to start with.
Alhamdulillah,
Yeah.
yes.
So that's one of the things. Another teaching statement that Prophet Muhammad said was, part of a person's good observance of Islam is to leave aside what does not concern him. Observance, I think it means a habit, aada. So a part of a person's good observance of Islam is to leave aside what does not concern him. In other words, or in English, it means mind your own business.
Yes, and avoid the gossip and all that comes with it.
Yeah, sometimes that's what happens. You go to work and then you come back home and talk about, that person at work, he did this, he did that. Okay, why are you telling me that?
What's the purpose behind
Are you
that?
going to change? Will you be able to change that? If you can change it, excellent. If you cannot, then let's not talk about it. Talk about something better than that.
It's interesting when picking up on that point. It reminds me of the about complaining. That oftentimes we complain about someone to someone else rather than approaching that person. And again, it's a check-in on our values, our integrity, and the openness to communicate with others. And there's a saying as well that whatever we tend to complain about things that we know can be improved. Someone made a statement that gravity, like if you fell, would you complain about gravity? Would you, Ali, say, oh no, gravity made me fall? Because you know you cannot change that.
Yeah.
But usually when we know things can be improved and changed, we tend to complain. But then again, if we are more conscious, what are we doing about it? What positive steps are we taking?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But maybe that's another question that I have in my mind. Why the people don't actually go and talk to those people? What do you think the reason would be? Maybe are they scared, for example? Are they worried that they might
I think sometimes like we might be scared of confrontation. And again, that comes to our character building. And we all have weaknesses. Sometimes we feel we don't want to confront someone, or we might upset that person. So again, it comes if we are sincere, I think we can have those conversations to improve. We have with us a call. We'll be back. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamu alaikum. معنا ياسر.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Yasser Suleiman, welcome to Let's Connect.
Well, thank you very much, Reem.
Thank you. Pleasure to have you with us, Yasser. I consider you a leading coach, mashallah.
Thank you.
And a person who has also impacted many lives as well in terms of self-development and growth.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So yes, we are talking about values, importance of values. What is your experience? And in particularly being in the field, you've also delivered sessions in terms of values at work in particular. So we'd love to learn from your experience.
Of course, the speakers, Ali, yourself, and Ilham, you have touched upon good aspects of values. So taking from what you have mentioned in the previous minutes of the program, values, I would like to call them as spiritual skills.
Spiritual skills, I like that. Okay.
And with values, even whether we are aware of them or unaware, they are the motivation, they are the compass, if you like, and they get us propelled to the person we'd like to be, the person we'd like to portray ourselves to others. And this is an interesting word, value itself.
Yes.
So when bringing our values to workplace is what keeps us going, what keeps us wake up early in the morning and to go to work, and the way we behave at work and the way we produce. What I heard Ali mentioning about his experience in a bureaucratic system, one of the bureaucratic systems. And what I would like to mention here, probably those people who were liking Ali's paper, they had their own set of values, and they were driven by that, those set of values.
Would you consider those limiting values?
Sorry?
Would you consider those limiting values?
Limiting values, I won't consider them as limiting values, but I think the action is not productive when it comes to values, because there might be two contradicting. There are two values, and the behaviors might be contradicting. And I would like to give an example here.
Yes, go ahead.
For example, one of the values I say our society embraces is fun.
Fun.
Okay, and you see that a lot on WhatsApp messages. There's a lot of humor going around on WhatsApp messages.
Yes.
Okay, but this stems from that fun. You will see what is happening on Thursdays. You see people sending us these messages about the holiday, leaving early, doing funny things on Thursdays, dodging work.
Yes, running away.
And that comes, I feel that it comes from the value of fun. And the same what happens at Saturday night. You see those horror messages about following morning, Sunday is
start of the
work
week.
day. So, but it might sound funny. We all laugh about them, but it has these messages which need to be cautious. What kind of the second messages these send to our productivity at workplace?
So it sounds like, yes, I mean, there's a context to where we prioritize values in terms of, for example, the mention of bureaucracy. Perhaps those who didn't do the paperwork, productivity value wasn't there, and maybe socializing was there, but it wasn't the proper context. And now you mentioned as well, fun is a good value, but also it shouldn't overcome the value of productivity and delivering your job at work.
Exactly. And I would like also to mention another value which happens like for some business entities, they have values. And normally business are there to thrive and grow. And I was talking to a businessman where he has one of his outlets wasn't doing very well.
Okay.
And in the coaching session, I just mentioned, why doesn't he just close that business and move, close that outlet and move the resources, especially financial resources and time, into other outlets which will produce a better result. And that businessman response was, okay, if I close this outlet, what I'm going to do with the 4 families? Means he was referring to the staff he had.
The staff,
at that time. So he needs to have to provide jobs for those 4 families.
Yes.
And this is an interesting value of business. Keeping people, taking care of their staff, and making sure the well-being of their employees. So that's the way that the decision was of that businessman.
Okay.
To keep the business running, even though it's not generating the revenue he desires, but there is another value in play here.
People.
A value of compassion, a value of taking care.
He put people over profit in that case.
Well, the people, for him, it wasn't the profit, even though he's in business, but the profit wasn't his a supreme value. He had other sets of values. He had, in his case, he had business to profit, but as well to support the community, providing jobs.
Yes, yeah, and that's
and that's how when values come in play.
Excellent.
Basically, values is we do our actions and we're able to look in the mirror and feel comfortable, and we like the person we see in the mirror because the action was driven by the values.
Aligned with our core values, yes. So I'd like to bring back the point, yes, in terms of the, if we talk about values at work, is you mentioned a point about, people are just looking forward to the weekend and they dread just going to work. And so this sense of productivity, how would we go about to, support in terms of integrating that value of productivity at work? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts with productivity at work is it's nothing rocket science. It has been communicated within the organizations. Just I feel the individual should appreciate their importance and their contribution to the workplace. I think contribution, as we speak, could be a value at workplace. And this is an essential element, or let's call it value here. It's essential value at workplace. It's how much do I bring to the workplace? So what is the value added by my presence at workplace during those working hours?
So we go back to awareness and consciousness, where the employees become aware of the impact of their role, of their presence, in terms of the bigger picture as well, the value add that they bring.
Exactly. I mean, each one of us, when we goes to work, they with the value of contribution, of the importance of the individual in that role, and bring that awareness. I think each one of us will start thinking, number one, and then behaving in more productive ways.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Yasser. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
What I would like to share here, since we're talking about values, I would invite the listeners to, if they haven't done this yet, is to discover their values.
Okay.
Go through value discovery exercise. It's an interesting experience, and it is very rewarding. And it keeps the individual at peace with him or herself once they realize, okay, their action stems from their values. So they need to discover the values.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Yasser. Thank you for allowing us to discover that with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure having you. Thank you, Yasser.
Thank you. All the best.
And I like how you mentioned values as spiritual skills. I think that's something that's beautiful that I personally take away in terms of how I approach values. So you were also mentioning, Ali, more about Islamic values, and you're sharing with us examples.
Yeah, I got actually two more statements that I want to talk about. And maybe I could get back to what Brother Yasser said.
Yes.
Yeah. So the statement is, a person cannot be a complete believer unless he loves for his brother what he loves for himself.
That's powerful, yes.
Yeah. And just give any example, just create a story. A mother brings a gift to her two daughters. Let's say she brings them a dress. One is pink, the other one is blue. What would you think the girl would choose? The girl would choose
green.
Green, yeah, that's right. So let's say they choose, I want the pink one. And the other one says, yes, I want the pink one too. So there's only one pink. They need to choose. So that's where the value comes. Okay, because she loves it, let her have the pink one.
Yes.
And if you go to the
being
bigger,
considerate.
if you go to the bigger picture, let's say two brothers fighting for a land. I want that land because it's at the corner, it's a nice place, and it's going to get expensive in the future. No, I want that. And they start fighting for that. Fighting for some useless stuff. But if they look back at what the Prophet said, a person cannot be a complete believer unless he loves for his brother what he loves for himself.
Beautiful. And it's also, I think by nurturing that in us, we actually become happy for others. When others achieve things or have things that we don't have, we don't feel that we're lacking anything. We're happy with the way we are, but we become very happy for them because we love to see others, being happy and achieving likewise. So I think it also makes us happier beings and get happy for others. Yes.
Yeah. It's like you buy a dress for yourself, you buy a shirt for yourself, and then you see a person there, oh, he is in need. Or maybe you buy food, nice food that you really wanted to have it for the last 1 month. And this is the chance for you to eat, but you find someone who's hungry, he wants that food too. Just give that to him.
Yes.
There's satisfaction. You feel that satisfaction.
And it's giving, and then it links back to also what we mentioned, that giving is also about giving sometimes of your time, of your knowledge, of just being there for someone.
Yeah.
Because you would love that as well for yourself.
And that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other.
Yes.
It's not just, I'm not here just for myself. I'm here to help others.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah. And the last statement, so I won't take a lot of time. One should not harm himself or others. And there's a big pause. One should not harm himself or others. Think about it. Reflect on it. You start with yourself. Oh, I love this person, and I'm going to sacrifice my life for him. And it happens sometimes, when it happens, you lose your first love. And say, oh, I lost my first love, and then I want to sacrifice my life. Why? Why? Ask yourself that question. Why do you want to harm yourself? Why do you do things that you know it's dangerous for your life, for your health? Why do you want to do that? Now, if you go to the bigger picture, why do you harm others? And this is a message to the world. They want to understand. They need to understand that. We should not harm ourselves. We should help each other. That's what we are here for. We don't have to fight. If you take all these statements together, it's like you don't need to fight for that land, You don't need to fight. You give it as a gift to somebody because you love that person. You don't hate that person. You love that person. We don't hate people, but we hate some of the behaviors that they have.
The acts, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's part of the religion. And maybe if we have enough time to go through the
You had some comments on Yasser's points. Go ahead.
It's mainly about having fun at work versus having fun during weekend. And there are 4 questions that I always ask when I deliver my workshop, which I think is good for the listeners to note that down. First question is, why do you work? And that question, and that question you need to answer it very quickly. What comes in your mind when I say, why do you work? Many people would say, oh, money, I have bills to pay, all that. Okay, forget about that question for now. Question number 2, what do you want the company that you're working in to do for you in order for you to enjoy or love what you're doing? That's another question. So they start putting lots of things. Oh, we want less time. See, again, instead of working for 8 hours, we want to work for 4 hours. We want more, longer weekend. It's not about work, but some of them say, okay, we want to have some more bonuses. We want to have more salary. Again,
take. It's
yeah,
more of
take. Okay, forget about that. And then there is another question. Think of a moment. There was a time in your life when you were really excited to go to work. What was it? What was that thing that excited you to go to work? Maybe it was once in your lifetime. What was it? Think about that part. How can you make that part happen again? And the last question, which is the most important question that I end up with, is how would you, as a person, as an individual, encourage or motivate yourself to enjoy or love your work? What would you do?
And we can actually post these on the Facebook page.
Oh, that's a copyright, by the way. Ali Al Farai copyright.
Oh, that's the value of sharing, right?
Oh, okay. I just
there
talked
you
about
go.
it. Oh, walk the talk.
Self-reflection.
Walk the talk. Okay.
Alhamdulillah. What I've been noticing in our discussion is that when we speak of values, is even we might be implementing those values in our personal lives or striving to do so, but then it's about transmitting it also in a professional context, because we hear more people complaining that we don't see those values in a professional context. And I think as a holistic individual and being God conscious is that our values should be transmitted in all aspects of our lives, in our personal lives, in our professional interactions, and we should respect the context as well and what values need to be prioritized, for example, at work. So I believe it's consciousness of personal, professional, where our values should be seen in all facets of our interactions.
Yeah, exactly. And you're one person. Why would you have a different value here and at home and different value at work?
Yes.
You should have one value that is you can have it everywhere. Because that's what your personality is about.
Yes. And again, we go back to the constant revision, because we talk about character and ethical. Our decisions are driven, if we go behind it, through our values, which impact our behavior, and we need to be constantly having that check-in.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Lovely. And it's also worthy to note that during the blessed month of Ramadan and fasting, the focus on taqwa and connection to Allah. And you've also mentioned, Ali, the point of sincerity in terms of when we're sincere to Allah and when we are the way we're living our life, is that automatically we become more sincere in our actions as well, and it comes through. And I think it's important to build that God consciousness. And there's in the Quran chapter 2 verse 183 a beautiful ayah that says, "O you who have attained the faith, fasting is ordained for you as it was ordained for those before you, so that you might remain conscious of God." And it just reminds us that through this month of fasting, it's important for us to build taqwa. And in order to build taqwa, we are to look inwardly in ourselves. And it's a great opportunity to establish that habit of checking in where we are with our values and how we are implementing and living them. So to wrap up the show, Ali, it's a beautiful conversation. And we thank Ilham and Yasser for contributing. Any final things you'd like to share?
I'm going to recite a verse from the Quran that I could end it with. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. Indeed, God commands justice and kindness and generosity towards relatives, and forbids from the shameful, evil, and rebellion. He advises you so that you may remember.
Barakallah. Shukran, Ali, and thank you for enriching discussions we had today. And we thank our listeners for tuning in. Tomorrow's episode, inshallah, will kick off with a series of specific values, and the value for tomorrow will be ta-da-da, tolerance. Well, we'll say more tomorrow. And remind ourselves as well, the verse in Surah Al-Ra'd, chapter 13, verse 11, is that Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. So this is a blessed month. We must do the inner work, and as a result, inshallah, we'll see beautiful results in our character and in our interaction with others. So from all of us here at Let's Connect, your Ramadan radio program, we welcome you to connect with us at our Facebook page, number 321 Connect, 321 Connect, and we welcome you to tune in tomorrow. We're here on air from Sunday to Thursday, 12 to 1. This is your host, Reem Audia, with Ali Al-Far'i, and with your sound engineer working hard behind the scenes, Ahmed Al-Aremi. We send you peace and love. Ma'a salama.
Radio, Sultan of Oman 90.4 FM is all set to bring you Let's Connect.
Let's connect.
A soul-searching program which is about a journey of self-discovery, hosted by Reem.
12 noon to 1 p.m. Sunday to Thursday.
Send your questions to 90406 or call us at 246-02058.
Let's connect here on the Nation